For years, 46-year-old Janet Overton, a public official, had suffered from declining health. Though dizzy and weak, she was determined not to let illness keep her down. On a January morning in 1988, she looked forward to a family outing on the Pacific Ocean. She never made it past the driveway. Janet's husband, Richard, summoned paramedics. But Janet was beyond help. Within hours, she was dead. The autopsy that followed could do nothing to shed light on the cause of Janet Overton's death. A routine scan of her blood and tissues was performed in order to find commonly used substances. It eliminated all conventional over-the-counter or prescription drugs as having contributed to her death. Her strange illness seemed to be as much of a mystery in death as it had been in life. For 4 years, Overton suffered from weight loss, stomach aches, tingling in her fingers, and a rust-colored rash. None of the specialists could make a diagnosis, despite extensive testing for viral infections, allergies, bacterial problems, anything that could explain the strange illness. Toxicologist Paul Sedgwick was called in.
They were completely baffled. They checked right and left. There are stacks of records, a couple feet high, and from whatever I can see, they never did find a specific cause for any of the symptoms that they found.
All they knew was that Janet Overton had been ravaged from the inside out. After her death, blood and tissue samples were put into storage at the coroner's office. The body was cremated. Her death might have remained a medical curiosity, but then a tip phoned in to Lieutenant Tim Carney of the Orange County Sheriff's Department turned it into a homicide investigation. 6 months after Janet Overton's demise, Richard Overton's first wife, Dorothy, told officers to take a good look at her ex-husband's past. Her daughter had made an odd discovery while visiting Overton's home. While going through some of Richard's things, she found a syringe, rubber gloves, and a tube of mascara. She reported them to her mother, who contacted the police. Carney dug through 20 years of records to uncover the Overton's family secret.
Dorothy Boyer told us that after her divorce from her husband around 1967, that there was a series of years where she suspected her husband had been poisoning her.
Like the second Mrs. Overton, Dorothy's health declined between 1967 and 1973. She would become violently ill without explanation. She was dizzy. Her mouth tasted of metal. One day, she noticed a strong sulfuric smell coming from her shampoo. The same odor emanated from some of her food. She began to suspect that Richard, who had access to her house even after their divorce, was trying to kill her. To find out for sure, she laid a trap. With the help of the Sheriff's Department, Richard Overton's first wife, Dorothy, devised a plan to see if he was poisoning her. She cleaned a new coffee can with rubbing alcohol, then marked the lid so that she would know if it had been tampered with. The rest would be up to Richard. After 3 days, she discovered that someone had opened the lid. Fingerprints lifted from the can were compared to Richard's, taken when he applied for a municipal job. They matched. Without his ex-wife's permission, Richard Overton had snuck into her house, gone into the cupboards, and mixed some reddish powder into her coffee. When the contents were tested, investigators discovered a strong-smelling mineral called selenium. Selenium is an element which in small amounts is necessary for good nutrition and health. In large amounts, it's poisonous. Richard was brought in for questioning. He initially denied having poisoned Dorothy, but confronted with the evidence, he confessed. Dorothy agreed to drop the charges so long as Richard stayed out of her life.